What is up, legends, and welcome back to another video on the Hooked on SuperCoach channel. Today's video will be a BBL SuperCoach video, and we'll be discussing a round 4 review and looking forward to the round 5 sort of trade targets, captaincy plans and whatnot there. Before we get started on the video though, I just want to wish hopefully everyone had a good New Year's Eve and that 2026 is bringing good things for all of us, especially us super coaches that are after a good rank this year. But before we get too sidetracked, let's get stuck into today's video. So, BBL SuperCoach, we scored 1,048 last week, which saw us take a slight red arrow down to a season rank of 629 overall. So, still in the top 1,000, which is my current goal at this point in time, but I'm looking to really push further this week, which we'll get into later in the trade targets, when I'm looking to bring in a few of the Stars boys. But as I mentioned there, 1,048 for the round 4 score. And so we'll kind of see where those points consisted of, where we got the points and what went well for the week. So, starting up at wicketkeeper, we saw Philippi again with the down score. Happy to hold them this week, even though they are on the bye, especially because they've got the double next week in round 6. They are versing the Heat and the Stars. So definitely look to hold your Sixers players if you can. So yeah, starting off Philippi. Again, it just didn't work with the bat this week, but that's alright. Happy to hold onto the double. The thing you'll first notice of is I kept a lot of my Stars players. So as you can see there on the bench, Harper, Maxwell, Stoinis, Curran, and then my Nuffy and Salesman. So I didn't actually have a bench last week. So I was kind of prepared for a bit of a slight red arrow because I did want to hold those Stars players as they've got the double this week, and everyone is now looking to bring him in. So I was happy to take a bit of a rank hit last week, especially my trade in last week of Wider scoring 1 was a little bit annoying, but what can you do? You win some, you lose some. Anywho, moving back onto the scorers, Cooper Connolly captain, 161, and he pretty much got no runs with the bat over the last game week there. That was pretty much consisted of all his wickets and catches in the field there. So 161, absolutely stoked as captain, 100% happy with that. However, he was outshone by Hardie. Now, Hardie went nuts, especially in that game last night where him and Mitch Marsh pretty much, I don't know where this form has come from, especially for Marsh, but 2026, they're definitely off to flyers there. So I'm definitely looking to hold both of them now. It's funny, Mitch Marsh, I could not wait to sell before the game week started last week. I was like, alright, we'll ride the last double and then we'll move him on. But just goes to show you these sorts of players, especially with the class and quality of Mitch Marsh, being able to pretty much ton up there out of nowhere. I think his highest score before that was 16 or 6 or something, super low, and he just goes out and whacks out a century like that. So very happy with Mitch Marsh and Hardie there. Finn Allen, a bit disappointing, didn't get any runs. And the same as Evans. Now, this Evans trade-in probably didn't work out at all, and I'll be looking to move him on this week. They didn't need him. He didn't bat. He batted in the first game, did alright, or didn't do too well, and just didn't get the opportunity to bat in the second game there. So, bit of a dud trade in there, but as I said, you win some, you lose some. Moving on into the bowlers there, we brought in Matty Short as well last week, 42. Look, not over the moon or stoked with that, decent enough. I'll be looking for more. But the main reason I brought him in is they are doubling, is it in round 7? Yep, in round 7 they've got the double. So they're versing Hobart and the Scorchers there. So I was starting to plan ahead a little bit with that, especially bringing in Wider as well. Because I'm trying to, as I've mentioned, my sort of strategy this year is going to be really looking to attack the doubles. As you can see there, I got them all nice and fine in my batsman slot, all 5 of the Scorchers boys there, looking to really attack the double. The bench depth last week just wasn't there, so this week with the Stars on the double and the Sixers, only 2 Sixers I have at the moment on the bye, so I reckon I'll be on for a good week this week, especially once I get into my trades. We should definitely be getting a green arrow. I'll almost guarantee I'll have a green arrow this week, so listen in closely, followers. Also, if you're enjoying the content, don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. Really pushes the algorithm and gets the numbers flowing up. As I mentioned before, the podcast usually is based around the NRL SuperCoach, but looking to expand it into all different formats, especially because we're doing half decent this year in both of these sports. Back to it there, Jackie Edwards, 64. He bowled pretty well yesterday. I was happy with his performance. Look, he's going to be someone you're going to have to get next week in the double game week, and so I know some people are selling him this week, but he's certainly someone I would not be looking to sell because you'll need him back next week. I know a few are doing Edwards to Stoinis, which I get, absolutely. I think Stoinis is a must for this week, but I just think maybe it's a little bit sideways, or you'll need to get a plan to get Jack Edwards in next week and then Matt Short the week after there. But back to it, Jack Wildermuth, 28. He's been a little bit disappointing. Apart from that one innings where he went absolutely ballistic with the bat and bowled pretty well, he hasn't done too much. So he's not quite on the chopping block yet. I'm happy to hold him and let him ride, but he is someone that is I might be looking to move him on to Overton, especially maybe next week, but definitely the week after when the Strikers have their double there. Moving on there, we got Jordan and Khan, both disappointments, both letdowns, and both players that I'm actually looking to move on this week as well there. Stoinis and Curran obviously didn't play, so yeah, as I mentioned there, the depth was really lacking last week, but then again, Water and the flex with score of 1 and the trade in there, so didn't quite work out. So all in all, the trade-ins from last week were Matty Short, Water and Evans, so that didn't actually work out too well at all. So I didn't quite nail my trade-ins last week, but I still had Connolly, Hardie, Marsh, Finn Allen. So I had a couple of the players before everyone started trading, which, as I've mentioned, is one of my targets. I'm looking to look forward and try and really focus up on those double game weeks there. So yeah, that kind of covers around round 4. What we learned, still target the double game week players. As you see, if we go into the players for round 4, they are all consistent of Scorchers players who had the double. So that's definitely working. Load up on the players that had the double, and that's the strategy I'll be looking to move forward into round 5. So round 5, as I've mentioned earlier in the video, we've got the Stars on the double. The Stars are versing the Heat tonight and then the Renegades on Sunday. So we've got five hours to go before lockout, so I've got to get this video done and get it out to all you lot because the lockouts come thick and fast in SuperCoach BBL. And so yeah, what trades am I looking at this week? Actually, before we get talked into the trades, let's go through the most broad and most sold players this week, and then that can kind of lean into my trades for the week. So we'll go the most traded out. We'll go by the top 10%, just to give a more accurate sort of reading for those active players, what they're looking to do. And we can see there the number 1 most traded out player is Shabib Khan. And look, I'm trading him out as well this week. I get it. He had the double a couple of weeks ago. Scored alright. He's been scoring alright this season, but I don't know. The Thunder just don't look too red hot, and I'm not too confident in him, especially with the Stars on the double this week. He is someone that you can definitely move on, and someone, as I mentioned, I am looking to move on. Moving on to our second most traded for this week, it's Finn Allen. Now, this one I'm not as sold on as opposed to Shabib Khan. I think Finn Allen's still an alright hold. He's opening the batting for the Scorchers, and we can kind of see the Scorchers probably have one of the strongest batting sides, depth-wise and strength and power-wise, in the whole Big Bash. And so Finn Allen is certainly one of those players that are not a bit of a boom or bust, like can go nuts or might not, but he's sitting on a season average so far of 55, 3-round average of 80, 5-round of 68. So he's certainly someone that I'm not rushing to sell, and I'm actually going to be holding this week because I prefer to sell someone else. But look, if you've got no other trade options and you need to make a move, I get it. If you're moving Finn Allen on for any of the Stars boys, because I've got the double this week, look, makes sense, and I would be advocating for that. Number 3 most sold is Jack Wildermuth. Now this one I would hold caution again. kind of mentioned, he's kind of what you want in BBL SuperCoach. He opens the batting for the Heat as well as bowling as well. He bowls his 4 overs there. So the potential for wickets and the potential for runs is kind of a great recipe for points in BBL SuperCoach, and he's certainly someone that is not quite on the chopping block yet, but is someone I will be looking to move forward in a couple weeks if he continues not to perform. But for now, more than happy to hold. But as I mentioned, the only way I would be selling him is to fund a Stoinis or a Maxwell sort of trade in this week. Otherwise, I would not be advocating for it at all. I think he's still a good asset, especially as I mentioned there. Opening the baton, we can see he can bat. He got a ton earlier in the season, and yeah, he can also bowl. He's got a few wickets throughout the season as well. So yeah, Jack Wildermuth is someone I'm not as keen as looking to sell this week. Number 4, Chris Jordan. Now, this is someone I am looking to sell this week. They've got the Thunder this week, which is a decent matchup. However, they've got the bye next week. Then they've got a double. Then I think it's another game. Then another bye, I believe. We quickly check that out. As I mentioned there, yeah, Thunder, bye, Strikers, Sixers, Heat, then another bye. So he's missing 2 more games for the rest of the season. We will need some Hobart Hurricanes players in round 7. However, that's 3 rounds away. And with the short format of BBL SuperCoach and with the number of trades we get, he is certainly someone who's been underperforming and someone I am looking as well to move on this week. So yeah, Chrissy Jordan, absolutely. You can absolutely move him on. You might need to bring him back, but again, as I mentioned, that's multiple game weeks away. We can kind of figure that out when we get to that road. Number 5 most sold for the week is Jack Edwards. Now, this is someone that I would not be selling. You'll be burning 2 trades because you'll need it. You want him. You'll need him for next week. He will be the number 1 target, I think, from the Sixers. Him and Philippi, especially Sean Abbott as well. Though he went off his return now, and he's starting to play some pretty good cricket there for the Sixers. So yeah, don't want to get too sidetracked though. Looking forward to next week with the Sixers double because they do have the bye this week. So. Look, if you're moving Edwards to Stoinis and then Stoinis back to Edwards next week, I'd just ask, is that the best use of your trades? And yeah, look, I don't know. I just wouldn't be selling Jack Edwards. So Wildermuth I would get. Jack Edwards I just don't think is a good sell because you'll definitely be wanting him for next week. Moving on now, we got number 6, we got Mitchie Owen. So, geez, what a disappointment he's been this year. He's got absolutely bugger all runs and pretty much got all his points this year with the ball in hand bowling. So, yeah, look, he's someone I will be targeting for that round 7 double. However, he's just getting cheaper and cheaper, and he's certainly no rush to bring him in. And look, I get the sell. I sold him, I think, round 2, so I was a bit early to the train. Happy to have sold him, but yeah, he just is not performing this year. A lot of value is lost, so I'm not overly keen on the sell because like all value is gone. But if you're bringing in some of those Stars boys this week, then look, makes sense, and I think you can go ahead with that trade. Number 7, we got Josh Philippi. Now, again, this is someone I wouldn't be trading. As I mentioned with Jackie Edwards there, they've got the double next week. Philippi you will want next week. He's batted pretty well, apart from the last couple of games where he's gone out swinging. But, yeah, look, you will want Philippi next week, and so he's in the same pool of Jackie Edwards. I wouldn't be looking to sell those players. I'd look to kind of sell someone else, like a Shabib Khan instead, because you'll want Philippi next week, despite them having the bye this week. So, yeah, Philippi, I would not be looking to sell there. Joel Paris, yeah, look, you can move him on. The Scorchers have had their double now. He performed alright. You'd be happy enough if you brought him in. How many points did he actually end up on? He scored 100, so, yeah, look, you'd be a lot better than my trade in with Laurie Evans, so you'd be happy if you brought him in, but yeah, as I said, you can easily move him on now to one of the Melbourne Stars boys, and so yeah, you can. That's a trade I definitely would be doing there as well. Ben McDermott, yeah, look, you can move him on. He's been disappointing as well. He's probably scored most of the runs for the Hobart Hurricanes there, along with Chowdhury, but yeah, look. I don't know, Hobart just don't look as good this year, and so yeah, he's someone that, as I mentioned, they got a decent matchup this week, but then the bye next week, so yeah, look, if you're not going to play him this week, absolutely move him on, sell him. I don't really see a reason to hold him. And he's probably someone that I won't even be wanting to get back in when they have their double in round 7 there. And then topping us off there is Matty Renshaw. And, I don't know about this one. I think I would sell him over Wildermyth. I think Wildermyth is the better option, as he's a batter and a bowler. However, Renshaw's been in pretty good nick this year with the bat. And so, look, if you're moving to a Stars player, I get it. But if you're moving to one of the Strikers players, I probably would hold off. If you're looking to get ahead there, I would probably just hold off, give it a week. The Strikers got Scorchers this week, which I think will be a hard matchup for them. I think Scorchers are a pretty strong side, as per usual. And so, yeah, look, I wouldn't be selling Matty Renshaw unless you are moving to a Stoinis or something like that. So that covers the 10 most sold players. Let's get stuck into the top 10 traded in. And starting us off here, we'll change to the top 10%. We got Glennie Maxwell. Bring him in. Got the double. Hasn't batted too well this year. Hasn't really had the opportunity to bat. And so I'm kind of hoping in these games that the Stars get an opportunity to bat first and to put up a bit of a score there, which will benefit kind of all these players brought in. As I mentioned, the Stars got the double this week, and that is 8 out of the 10 players, and the 10 most brought in are Stars players. So everyone's on the same idea. As many Stars as you can get, the better, and they don't have any more buys for the rest of the season, and they're looking pretty good. So with Perth, I was looking to have about maybe 5-6 players, whereas with the Stars this week, I'm looking at bringing in 3 of them, and I already have 4. So, look, I think load up on them, and that's what I mean. I reckon I'll be definitely on for a good week this week. So, yeah, back to the most brought in. Glennie Maxwell, bring him in. If you don't have him, he's a must. Stoinis is more of a must and will probably be my captain this week. However, I don't mind Glenn Maxwell as a bit of a punt, especially if I see them batting first tonight against the Heat. If they are batting first, I will be looking to maybe VC Maxwell, take a bit of a punt there. However, Stoinis is definitely the safer pick with the bat and ball. But yeah, look, I've got a funny feeling about Glennie Maxwell. I think he's going to start 2026 with a bang. And so he's certainly someone I'm pretty big on this week. And I would be moving towards bringing him in. As I mentioned, Stoinis, got to bring him in. He is a must. Sammy Harper, look, how can you argue with this man? He's in the form of his career. I think he's still got a negative break-even. Oh no, he's got a 0 break-even, so he's going to make you some cash as well. But his last 3 scores, 105, 165 and 39. So he's been absolutely killing it recently. And so, how can you argue with the man in form? So, would definitely be looking to bring in him this week. Peter Siddle in the number 4th most brought in. Absolutely, I'm going to round it. The old veteran just keeps getting better and better with age. He's like a nice red wine. Good old Peter Siddle. He keeps winding it back. Look at these stats so far this season. 82, 42, 107 and 45. So, look, with the Heat and Renegades not the strongest opponents in the double, I reckon he could be on for a few wickets. And so, I'll definitely be bringing him in. I'd probably go Tom Curran over Peter Siddle if you don't have Tom Curran. However, I think both are absolutely great options and both are good trade-ins this week. Kind of just touch on Tom Curran there as well in 5th most brought in for this week. But look, as a bit more of an all-rounder, I think he's a great buy. Definitely get him into your team, and he's been performing pretty well as well this season with a 25 to start it off, but then a 77, 121 and 65. So he's kind of hitting form with the bat and the ball there, and he's someone that I think is a bit of a must for this week. The 6th most brought in for the week, Mitchie Swepson. He left the Heat last year to go to the Stars. Didn't start the season too well at the Stars this year, but his last couple games he has been turning it on a bit more with the ball. So as I mentioned there, first, I remember that he played horrible the first game. Got 11 points. A little bit better in the second game, but the third game he really started to pick up and find his feet there at the Stars. So look, at 60k, I think he's a great option. He should make you a bit of cash. And he's a great downgrade option to kind of fund your Stoinis, your Maxwell, your Harper trade-ins for this week. Sorry, I've just knocked the cord there. We should be back live now, though. Yeah, all good there. Harris Ralph, 7 most brought in. Look, I think Peter Siddle, I think all the blokes above him are better trade-ins. However, the Pakistani man, he still is a good buy. He's a wicket taker. He hasn't been at his best, I think, so far this season. But yeah, look, with the Stars having the double, he's a good bowler. He is someone I am looking to bring in as well this week. And look, as I would bring in all those guys above him before, but as I kind of already have most of those guys, I just want to load up with as many stars as I can. And so, yeah, not the best value at 158k, but I think, look, here's a solid buy. And look, half of these guys, they might be holds for the rest of the season with the way the Stars are performing. So, yeah, certainly can't knock that buy. We'll quickly jump to 10. We'll knock out all the Stars boys first, and then we'll get over to the Strikers boys. Joe Clark. Now, I believe he's injured, so I wouldn't be bringing him in, and if you have brought him in, I'd be looking at reversing those trades. Now, the final teams will come out like half an hour before the games kick off, so you can double check with it there, but I believe there was a rumour going around that Joe Clark is injured and out for this week or for the next couple of weeks, so yeah, he's someone that I would probably be undoing those trades, and for the same price, you could bring in a Swepson, but if you need a batter, yeah, Sammy Harper. So yeah, those are the Stars boys. Pretty much dominate the 10 most traded in. And then we've also got 2 of the Strikers. So the Strikers don't double this week, they double next week. And so they'll be high up on the trade targets next week. And so people are looking to kind of make advantage of that and start bringing them in now, especially with someone like a Chris Lynn who went off last week against his old team, the Brizzy Heat, the Brizzy Boys. And so yeah, he's sitting at a negative 47 break even, so he's going to go up in price. So you might have to pay that little bit more next week. But look, I wouldn't be rushing to bring him in. If you're happy with the amount of Stars boys you have, I completely get the trade and see it. I think he is someone that I'll be bringing in next week, but I just don't see the rush. He's versing the Scorchers this week. Negative 47 break even, so he's going to make you some cash. But apart from that, are you even going to want to play him? Like, yeah, look, I wouldn't be bringing him in unless you pretty much have all of these players already. So, look, get the trade in. If the funds don't work and you want to start looking ahead, yeah, look, get it. But I would probably be going for a couple of the other Stars before I'd be looking to move in Chris Lynn. And then number 9, most brought in, Jamie Overton. Now, he is someone that I'm very interested in. I looked at getting him in this week, but being at that 185k, another premium price, I can't really afford it without kind of moving things around elsewhere. So he's someone I'm looking at bringing in next week, especially before they double in game week 7. But they've got an easier matchup next week with the Thunder. And so, yeah, it's kind of his first good game, apart from his first game of the season so far. But yeah, look, batter bowler who can also get wickets and get runs. I think he'll be a must for that double. But again, no rush on that trade, and certainly I'd be bringing in your Glennie Maxwell or your Marcus Stoinises before you bring in your Chrissy Lynn or especially your Jamie Overtons. But I think they're both great trade targets. Just I think next week is more of a trade-in for them. So that covers pretty much the 10 most brought in and 10 most sold players. For the week, I've mentioned my sort of traps and avoids. I think I wouldn't be looking to buy or sell this week. And then the players I would be looking to buy, which being pretty much all the Stars players. So we'll go over to my trades and plans for this week. So as I mentioned there, I've got all my, I got them all back. So if we quickly just refresh this, see what the team is looking like for the week. Yeah, here we go. So we'll be bringing Evans out. We'll be looking to sell him. That was a bit of a dud trade-in. So win some, you lose some, as I do say. We'll also be selling Chris Jordan and Khan as well. So we're looking to sell those 3. They're all in the top 10 apart from Evans, and Evans is just a dud trade-in from last week. So more than happy to move him on, and as I said, I don't mind holding Finn Allen this week, and especially moving forward. So then who am I bringing in? So if we go sort by average, we are looking to bring in Peter Siddle. Absolutely, Peter Siddle, hat-trick on his birthday. Let's get his points for the double game week. Now, I want to bring him. I want to take him out of the flex, and also because I'm bringing in Harris Ralph as well. So bringing in Harris Ralph and Peter Siddle. So absolutely loading up on the Stars, boys. And how could I load up even further? That's right. We're bringing in Mitchy Swepson. So those are the trades I'm doing for this week. I am selling Evans for Swepson, Chris Jordan for Peter Siddle, and Khan for Ralph. So look, I like all those trades. I'm really attacking the Stars double this week. Not only because they have the double, but because I think they're one of the best sides in the league this year. And so some of these players could go on to be season-long holds. So let's sort of see how we line up for the week. We will quickly optimise it, see what they do for us. And I'm going to do what I did last week for the Scorchers, kind of load all the Stars players up in the one section there. So we'll bring Stoinis down. We'll bring Glennie Maxwell down. And how about that? We'll go VC Maxwell, C Stoinis for now. But as I mentioned, I really like Glenn Maxwell as a bit of a pod captaincy shout, but I will only be doing it if the Melbourne Stars are batting first against the Heat. If they are bowling first, I'll just go with Stoinis because it's a bit more of a safer pick, but I've got a funny feeling about Glennie Maxwell scoring some runs this week, so he's someone I am looking to pot up and captain and try and soar even further up the ranks with that. But if they don't, as I mentioned, Stoinis captain and can't knock that. I would look to captain probably one of those two, maybe a Tommy Curran as well. But yeah, look, I wouldn't stray too far from that. I think they're all good options in themselves, but I think just the upside of Stoinis and Maxwell, even your Tom Curran, it's certainly the highest in my opinion anyway. So yeah, loading them up here. We got Stoinis, Harris Ralph, Glennie Maxwell, Peter Siddle, Tommy Curran. We've also got Swepson in the flex and then Semi Harper at keeper. So we've got 7 stars for this week. So that's what I mean. Like, if I don't see a green arrow this week, something has gone disastrously wrong. So I think I'm pretty confident I'm on for a good week there. And then looking up who else do we have? We got Cooper Connolly, he's a gun. Jack Wildermith, a gun. Matty Short, a gun. Aaron Hardie, absolute weapon. And then the last option is between Finn Allen, Wada, or Mitchy Marsh. What do we reckon? Now, the annoying thing is I can't do the emergency loophole thing because they play the last week of the game, last game of the game week there. So what I can do is I can actually bench Wildermith, use my R on him. So if he gets 28 again, I can kind of just run the risk there with something like, we'll do something like this. So yeah, if Jack Wildermith does well tonight, we'll bring him onto the side. And if Wildermith does well, we'll leave him there. We'll bring Salzman on, and then we'll bring Mitch Marsh down, just like that. Yes, and then that way we would get probably move the E to here. I don't quite know how the looping and everything works in this. I know this will work. And so yeah, if Wildermith does well, then I'll bring him on and then keep Salzman there, so he will come on as the AE. But we'll see how he goes first. So this is how I think I'll line up then for the week with Captain Stoinis, VC Maxwell. However, as I mentioned there, if the Stars are batting first in the game tonight against the Heat, I will be flipping that over and captaining Maxwell and vice-captaining Stoinis. I just don't even think there's a point to vice-captain loop because Stars are the only one with the double. And as we kind of saw last week, they are by far and away the double game weeks. It's the way to do it because that's how you can get these massive 273 scores there. So yeah, that's what my trade plans, skipper sort of tactics are going to be for this week. And so yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If I was going to say one must-have player for the week, I think it's Glennie Maxwell. I've got a really good feeling about him. I think he's going to do really well. I think he's going to get a bunch of runs and maybe a couple wickets as well. But as I said, I need him to be batting first because every game this year so far, the Stars have kind of bowled first and got him out for a pretty low score, and then the Stars batters have just gone nuts. And so Glenn Maxwell, I think, has only batted, is it once or twice? Like, he's hardly batted so far this season. If they're batting first, however, I'd be a lot more confident that he would bat. So if you go his fantasy stats, yeah, look, he's batted twice. He's got 2 runs, and then, as I said, that 39 off like 20 balls last week. So, look, I've got a great feeling about Glennie Maxwell this week. I'm pretty big on him. Let's hope he bats first, and we'll be captaining him there. So yeah, wish me luck there going against the grain. I think everyone is pretty much going to captain Stoinis, so he's my bit of a pod pick there. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Pushes the algorithm, gets it out, and then yes, we'll be back for the sort of round 5 review and round 6 trade targets before you know it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.